Thank y'all for having me. It's actually crazy because I got looped into Ujima when I went to y'all's reflections in like 2024 and then tapped in with Alula from there. So it's like a full circles round and round and shit. So I'm gonna share my screen with some brief slides that I put together just to go through the work of the publications team. Can y'all see my screen right now? Cool.
Yes.
Thank y'all. All right. So come here. There we go. So I kind of split this up into a couple of sections. First one being a recap of some of the activities. Like Lula had alluded to earlier, there was some workshopping that happened with new partners that the publication team had made. One being the Boston Public Library, where we had done zine workshops, a series of them, asking people to kind of catalog community history. In that same vein of doing really tactile, hands-on publications, we did the zine festival at the Juneteenth celebration at the ICA. We invited plenty of Ujima collaborators and other artists to share their works at tabling. We had also myself and another publications team member, Niara, put on a zine workshop at the event. It was around the history of Juneteenth. On paper, what ended up happening is a lot of people brought their kids. So we just taught a bunch of kids how to make zines and they drew their cute little stories and we scanned them for them to pass it out and share with their parents. So it wasn't what we had planned, but it was still a really beautiful evening. Additionally, some of the work the publications team has been the cookbook that if y'all have seen the kept up with the newsletter, I believe it was passed around in there. I saw it cataloging recipes with input from the local Ujima businesses, and as well as some beautiful stories in there. So uh, yeah, kind of really tying relationships together and having a beautiful output that people can engage with in their own kitchens. Additionally, there had been some kind of groundwork laid to have a writing and reading room at the Dorchester Food Co-op. I put that order wrong. I put that acronym wrong. It's in the early phases of being planned, but it's hoping to be a space where people can come through, see the history of literature that had been published previously, a place where Ujima newsletters can be shared, local artists can circulate their work, such as zines, and people can really just have an engagement with publications. And additionally, with our publications team meeting, we had a couple of guest presenters come through. We had folks from Black Mass Publishing talk about their work with zines, kind of brainstorming ideas back and forth of how what future projects for the publications team could look like. And we also had another guest, Afi Press, kind of doing that similar internal engagement for stimulating ideas we could do, hearing what other people's practices are like, and potentially planting the seeds for future collaboration. So for reflections, I just hit up member folks from the member teams to kind of see what this year has been like for them, what they feel about where they've come, about what's gone by and where we've been. Kind of a lot of the things I've been pulling out from people's reactions were folks really appreciating the relational ties that have been being built, which I mean just kind of goes into the ethos of how Ujima is. So I'm glad it could be glad it could be reflected through one of these structures. A lot of talk about seeing the transition and growth of the team, where originally a lot of the things done, such as meetings or events, were kind of staff led because that's what the highest time and capacity, but it's been kind of moving to a more member engaged process, which has been really dope to see, and really appreciative of the staff and just the model overall for it really being a situation where people can step in and make serious contributions. Like I've hit up Alula many a time to do a lot of things. We've gotten to collaborate with other folks in here, Mark, Niara, and have other member team friends of people I've been able to bring in, such as Diva, who are also starting to collab and get into the mix and kind of shape how this member team is going to function and serve us together rather than, the dynamic that can come up of staff putting something on for folks to engage with. So really getting that grassroots flavor to it, which was a lot of the reflection. So I'm glad it's going how it is. And to kind of tie it all off, ask people what they're looking forward to in the coming year. Some of the highlights were member led workshops. We had talked about one kind of doing open workshops for whatever topics people might be interested around publications such as zines, artworks. And additionally, we had talked about kind of like a skill sharing slash refining where people can kind of pool knowledge collectively and give support on editing, putting work together, really trying to horizontalize what people know and give that between each other on a regular, consistent basis to see that as part of the work. Kind of going into that, there's been reflection around more time just to be in spaces together, either supporting being spaces together and supporting each other with our ongoing projects. So with that, office hours is an idea I've kind of been seeing where people want to be able to lean on one another, but also just build that organic relationship. So thinking about how could we just have more consistent space together outside of the regular publications Zoom, and as well as bring other community into this. I know myself personally and other members of the publications team have plenty of creative relationships that haven't been tapped into Ujima yet. And as the team reflected, and I also feel like if we find that kind of regular space to kind of be an on ramp for people to come engage, to really fill out the kind of creative pool we have going and kind of start to build a stronger foundation, a more creative foundation for other projects to grow. And with that kind of community building is on that last piece of, like I said, building between each other, building outside of our networks to kind of reinforce our networks and just hoping bring more people in to see how things can go for the long term. I'm not going to read these quotes out loud. Half these people are in this Zoom right now and it's on this screen. But yeah, thank y'all. Thank y'all so much for the opportunity, for sharing, and for having this space. I'm very much looking forward to the year of working and collaborating.
Giving you some time to receive the applause and the praise. Thank you so much, Gabe. Um, Incredible presentation. Very pretty presentation also. We will now transition into our staff reflections before we have some time at the end of our workshop tonight for folks to ask us any questions. The order of our staff presentations will be CPGO, then community engagement, then arts and cultural organizing, then the fun team, then communications, then senior leadership. I will share my screen and share our slides. And people see my screen.
Yes.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Sick. Without further ado, I will move to the next slide, and I believe our very own Ray Fielder is up first.
Thank you so much. Hey, everybody, it's me again. I'm Ray. I'm the Director of Coalitions Policy and Grassroots Organizing. And I will start by saying that my presentation won't be nearly as pretty as Gabriel's, but it's a little bit of a picture story to take you through the year of CPGO and take us through our reflections. So I'm going to ask you to click in my first photo, Alula. So this is just a photo, starting with like one of the main reflections that you'll hear this year is around building community, and this is a picture of a bunch of people who are living in Boston right now, but are originally from Detroit, doing amazing work in Boston. So I just want to kind of start us off with people from Detroit are amazing and building beloved community with fellow like Detroiters in Boston has been amazing. Next photo, please. And again. So, really wanting to start off with the top of the year. So, everybody knows I say it all the time that our legislative flagship issue is public banking. And at in like the early spring, got a chance to go to Washington D.C. for a public banking conference where myself and one of the public banking co-chairs, Nancy Ryan, talked about kind of like our Massachusetts strategy and what it could look like to like build out a national network of public banking advocates. So we met with folks from California, and New Mexico and everywhere around the country, and it was really nice being in space with them. The next photo, please, is going to take us to a photo of a report that was done by Demos and New Economy Project, where our public banking efforts were kind of listed. And I'm going to actually drop in the chat that report. So if you want to see what it's like to talk about democratizing banking and finance, and how we're thinking about that in Massachusetts and how other folks across the country are thinking about it, you can absolutely check that out there. Next photo, please. Keeping on with this theme of public banking, so in November we also had a public banking conference at Harvard, and the following week we had a countrywide public banking webinar with remarks from Elizabeth Warren, and yeah, I was one of our key speakers there representing Massachusetts and Ujima. It was absolutely wonderful to do that. And if you're part of the public banking, if you're part of the public banking newsletter, you might have seen that video go out. Next, please. And here's some of our members. Well, our member Athul and some of our public banking members. These are folks who testify at the public hearing before the Committee for Financial Services. Keep going. And what you won't see there is we also had one of our wonderful business owners, uh, Bipla Arai of Comfort Kitchen, who also testified for us. What you see here is the only photo I got of this weekend, which is the Wampanoag powwow that happened the weekend of 4th of July. I'm naming this because one of the other coalitions that we're a part of is Black and Indigenous Resistance Fund, where we offer like grant funding to Black and Indigenous organizations doing amazing work in Massachusetts. And here this weekend I spent in Mashpee actually building with Indigenous organizations, one of which was one of the our grantees being the Aquinnah Cultural Center. Next slide. And the last thing that I'll put here is that a big part of what I got to do this year was have my leadership invested in, and that was attending a training for Black organizers called Black Organizing for Leadership and Dignity for directors and leads. And this was all of our Black beautiful faces at our graduation wearing all white. So it was amazing to be in coalition in space with all of these wonderful people, and to learn with and learn from. So once again, thank you, Ujima, for kind of investing in my leadership in this way. The thing I will say is the reflection is you never know what the ways that your leadership may be called into action. Black and Indigenous Resistance Fund had a shift in leadership. Thank you so much. Had a shift in leadership in 2025, which I like me and another coworker of ours had to step up and really kind of steer the ship. And take us through some relationship building and some evaluation of our programs. And it was completely unexpected. So that was one of my lessons of this year is that you never know when you will need to step up. That was my time. And so if you have any questions for me, I'll be here to the end of the meeting. Thank you so much for listening.
Thank you, Ray. Um, Gio and I and James. Start.
Hi, everybody. Good evening. Community engagement managers, myself, Gio, using the he, him pronouns, Mary, you just heard from, joined by our Deputy Director, James Vanboy. We're here to talk to you about some highlights, some learnings, and how we enjoyed ourselves in 2025. In community engagement, at the Boston Ujima Project, community engagement continues to um, draw in and orient our members at our orientations. In 2025, it was our first time having a volunteer orientation. Definitely throw up some emojis if you were there or looking forward to the next one this Thursday. Uh, our Ujima cafes, I'm going to drop the blog post in the chat. That was written by Ujima's team. Shout out to our team for the beautiful work that we do to archive and story tell and build our narrative. Our Ujima cafes, locations of note are listed up top, and I'll read them out loud. Fresh Food Generation. Throw some emojis up if you know these places. Dorchester Food Co-op and Nubian Markets. Some key features, not all of them, but some key features from our membership include Ioka, who helped organize the mini trivia at the Dorchester Food Co-op Cafe. We had Haas of Dorchester Art Project and Malaysia running an assist on a few Ujima cafes to bring some more creativity and participation into the space. And then finally, a special shout out to a UGBA business folks from Fresh Food Generation. That would be Cassandra, who did a reflection last Wednesday, and also Jam Font, who has been instrumental in co-curating the space for Ujima Cafes of Fresh Food. In 2025, we also went online, live on Instagram. We're no longer doing this as it was. However, we'd like to refresh our memory on Ujima on Air. Our first on air was with Comfort Kitchen. We invited Bipla Rai, who is also the restaurant fellow for Ujima, to talk about restaurants, the Ujima good business practices over at Comfort Kitchen, and more. We also had publication staff, Ujima staff, Alula, joined by Mo, as we talked about arts and culture at Ujima and in the Boston scene. And then the Boston Neighborhood Community Land Trust, we had a couple of folks from there talk about it just before the vote hit, around the season of the voting time that was referenced earlier. Our Ujima presences in the community, several of them, there's different categories here. We had events that were sent to members and or boosted. We had just over a dozen outreach events where we tabled. Some examples of that are open streets, where you might see us in neighborhoods including Dorchester, Roxbury, Jamaica Plain, etc. And then a handful of university presentations that our members and our peers invite us to, which include Suffolk University and more. I will pause here and pass it to my coworker, my fellow community engagement manager, Mary. Thank you so much.
Um, so with all these highlights, you can go to the next slide. Thank you. There were definitely some learnings, and so there were some events and programs that we weren't able to execute. Huddle, some of challenges with Ujima on air, having a member orientation and appreciation dinner. And because of that, the lessons we learned was just to prioritize. And so appreciation and member orientation are some of the things that we're trying to prioritize and to have planned for 2026. Also thinking about time banking. Nia had a great idea around how to reincorporate with Ujima Cafe. So doing that. This year we learned a lot around staff capacity, how we're navigating conflict and working better with our team members, and just Gio and I stepping into more leadership. And that has also been really great learnings. And then our UGBA sticker process. We've been really trying to get the stickers out to the UGBA businesses. And this year, community engagement taking a bit more ownership and leadership in that. Thank y'all so much. Pass it to the next arts and cultural organizing.
All right, that's me and Sierra. You're welcome to go to the next slide. Y'all can marinate in these images while we just narrate a little bit about the highs, the lows, and lessons that we're taking into 2026. So I just want to start off by saying there was just an abundance of great programming last year. Um, and one of the things that we were able to announce by the end of the year, thinking about all the programming we've been doing and gearing up to open a gallery space, we finally got to put into words something that we've been, yeah, trying to design for the past, I don't know how many years, couple of years, the Center for Art, Invention, and Uncommon Practice. And I'm going to just drop the link to the announcement so you can read all about it. I know we're stretched for time, so I'm going to pass it back to you, Sierra.
Yes, thank you so much. And we're going to try to be quick. We're already at 3 minutes. How's that possible?
No.
Another thing that we did last year that we're super excited about is that we turned our Juneteenth program, which we had one time, the last time was in 2023, into a signature program. Not only was it a signature program, but we expanded. We had a full day of programming, 10 a.m. to 9 p.m. at two sites, the Museum of African American History and the ICA Boston in the Seaport. And thank you, Nia, for encouraging us to stretch and grow. We got to support dozens of vendors and artists and businesses. We had over 5,000 attendees across both sites. And yeah, it was just an um, amazing way to build relationships and to support our local community.
Yeah. And a part of that is what we were really excited to do was deepen our partnerships and like partner relationships and experiment. And that was one of them with Juneteenth, expanding not just with the ICA, but with the Museum of African American History, who holds down that programming. And yeah, support the expansion of it this year. I can't announce it, but there's even more excitement around it this year. And yeah, one of our yeah, funding partners, Wagner, we were able to put on a few like conversations turned into that will turn into a podcast forthcoming called Soon and Very Soon, so that we could share more about our research into galleries, how to yeah, build a practice from that's radical, transformative, and liberatory. Passing to you, dear.
Thank you. Another thing that we got to do, and this is not the full breadth of the member arts team that you see in the top left, but this is some folks couldn't fit everybody in. Um, we launched our first member arts committee. It is a new body that is dedicated to giving us feedback and collective decision making and making sure that our ACO, arts and cultural organizing priorities, remain firmly in line with our values. Our members are, I'm just going to shout them out quickly: Ayana Mack, Camilla Bohan, Sun Brown, Camilla de la Vega Moldano, Raven Heath, Bo Apetu, Bex Thompson, Diva Williams, and Haas.
Wonderful. Also, as you may have heard, we announced a new fellow, ACO fellow, Sienna Smith, who's on this call. Thanks for joining us, and more soon about her fellowship. Oh, dang, it's me again. Okay. We
Sorry.
also had a series of, it's okay. We had a series of wonderful workshops. We only have 30 seconds left. Okay. We're just going to go into the lows. Yeah, collaborations are hard. They can be challenging. They can cause friction and tension, but learning how to move through them, stay grounded in our commitment, speak directly to what is and is not working, and seek understanding is something that we were challenged to do more last year.
Yes, and what we've learned from those partnerships is that it's not just about moments of success, but also yeah, like learning how to work better with each other and our capacities. We have lots of partnerships returning, and we are learning from other cultural institutions. Thank you all.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. This is the Fun Team Reflections for 2025. Yusuf, me, Josh, Julia, and Nia. Nia and Julia are here with us today. Perfect. So, top areas for success in 2025. We wanted to do this a little bit different. We wanted to have like a mix of the team's perspective, but also individual perspectives, just so folks can kind of see, the ins and outs of what we're thinking about individually. So, I'm going to read off a little bit of everybody's perspective, just so you can kind of get a sense of their reflection. So Yusuf, one of his big takeaways of success for 2025 was going to the Opportunity Finance Network, and that was towards the end of the year. And that was really an opportunity for the team, or me, Yusuf, and Julia to kind of learn a lot about CDFIs, and what that financial sector is able to do for community throughout the country, which was a really cool experience. One of my big takeaways in success for 2025 was I really was able to see how flexible and adaptable the team is. I think over the years you continuously learn as a team, and just depending on what's on our plate for the year, I'm able to see how flexible we all are as a team, but also like just being able to maneuver with the businesses. Josh, which is a really big one, he said one big success was our homeschool series. So we completed that in the beginning of the year, and that was really us, educating members, but also collectively coming together to build out our collective real estate fund. So that was super exciting for the whole team. Another big thing was for the BNCLT, so Boston Neighborhood Community Land Trust. We had another investment vote for them that was early in 2025. So we put out the memo and the vote was successful. So that was super, super important. And then another success for Julia was that we was able to strengthen the underwriting process, which is super important. Because as we have investments coming through, we really want to continue to improve these areas with the underwriting. Top areas for growth. Some of us want to attend more community events and speak with more people in person. Mine was to really continue to, develop my skills when it comes to evaluating businesses, especially like financials. And one really cool thing about our team is that we do financial educational workshops weekly with Julia so that we're able to continue to refine these skills. Another thing is we really want to have more creative and engaging events and formats so that when people come to our events for the Ujima Good Business Alliance gatherings, we really want to have, educational, but also um, a space where people like they're able to take away and feel like they came with a really valuable reason. So that's something that we're really trying to, collaborate on and think deeply on. Julia, another area for growth is strengthening our internal credit memo process and portfolio review process. Um, we did two last year, but we're continuously trying to refine the process and making it more efficient internally so that we're able to, push them out faster, especially when the demand is higher. And then another big one is continue our partnerships and collaborations with peers in Boston. What did we learn? I think a big one is how businesses constantly have ups and downs. So that's something Yusuf and I said. There's really a lot of different external factors when it comes to businesses and what they have to face. And really just trying to understand each industry is super important as, the fund management team. Julia's one of her big learnings was learning about community ownership models. And that's really specifically from the Boston Neighborhood Community Land Trust investment vote. We really was able to dive deeper into the learning there. And then for Josh, one of his learnings from 2025 for 2025 was to um is really develop more, build stronger relationships personally and professional with the Ujima team because Josh is a fellow, so he doesn't fully work with the team on a full-time basis, but over the second year with his fellowship, he's been able to build relationships, spend a little bit more time with everybody on the team, and I think everybody appreciates his presence. And then lastly, what will you bring to your role in the Ujima community in 2026? Um, Yusuf, be a little bit more critical, especially when it's financial focused. Josh wants to have a greater presence uh, in Boston, but also really have a build a better relationship with his assigned businesses. So each business owner is connected with a UGBA liaison, and they're able to, build relationships, um, but also develop a deeper understanding of what's going on in that business. And I know I'm over time, so I'll end there. I'll pass it back to you, Mary.
Thank you. Hi again, everybody. I'm Natasha. So I'm going to be introducing the comms team. So the communications team is the forefront of shaping and sharing the narrative of the organization. So 2025 was a great year, and some things that we achieved, some highs were starting off with the Assembly of Black Possibilities. If you could go to the next slide, please. So at the top left, you can see the Assembly of Black Possibilities, the graphic identity, the digital and the printed material was very intentional and it was just beautiful. Another accomplishment is we had new format for emails, which improved our visibility. Shout out to you, Mona. We also had our Plenty cookbook design in collaboration with our UGBA businesses. We had 10 original essays, interviews, and perspective pieces published by local writers that were in our Ujima Wire. Shout out to Alula, our editorial manager. Our Instagram had a lot of clearer, funkier, and fresher graphics, as you can see on the slideshow, which led to us getting over 10,000 followers. We're currently at 10.2 thousand followers. We launched our Fortunately issue 2 and the new website. We had our first sign fair at Juneteenth, sponsored Bay State banner ads. Living a Black love politic was another accomplishment. And our publications member team, as we heard from Gabe, had some great accomplishment last year, including the collaborations with Boston Public Library. And last but not least, we added a Ujima Wednesday landing page to our website, creating a central location for workshops and member teams. And those were just some great highs from last year. And I will pass it to you, Mona, to go into the lows.
Talk about the lows. Okay, sure. Um, there's three that I'm gonna go over. The first one is coordinating content production and event promotion across multiple platforms while maintaining quality and consistency. It requires tight deadlines and clear communication, and it's a lot of moving pieces and variables, and um that was not always the case last year for everything. So that was one. Balancing the workload among team members. We all wear a lot of hats in the comms team. And it's a learning process to try and like figure out how we work together to make sure that like one person isn't overwhelmed while the other person is doing like two things and then the other, you know what I mean? Like it's just like hard to try and find that like balancing point for all of us because we do so much. It can feel unbalanced more easily. So learning to do that, I think this year would be lovely. And then lastly, there's lower engagement rates on the newsletters, which is odd because they look beautiful and they read beautifully. So hopefully we can turn that around too. Um, yeah, I believe I don't who am I passing it to for what we've learned?
I think it's me.
Take it away,
Thank you. Thanks, Mona. Thanks, Natasha. So as you can see, like so much got done. It looks incredible. I would just say big picture is learning how long these things take. Things take time. Of course, we knew that, but making sure that our collaborators and partners also knew that timeline and how to work that through together. So, one, just like developing workflows in a more clear and concise way. And then two, once we set those deadlines, just being vigilant and making sure everyone's up to date on when things are due. And then, yeah, last thing I'll say, if you do want to do a publication, you should think about how long it'll take and then multiply it by 3. And I think that's it. I'll pass it on to Lula or to Nia.
Yeah, thank you all so much. Am I okay? Yes, this is an amazing picture of us. Okay. So last year was our first full year as an independent nonprofit organization. In 2024, we completed our tenure as a we started our own new entity. I'll just say that. And it was a full year as of last summer. And we're super proud and excited about that. I think this year, something that I've been thinking about is building organizational capacity. We had many highs as folks have expressed across the team. Our programs, our team, our partnerships have all expanded. And what we're learning and working on, I think, right now is building new internal systems and practices to sustain that growth with care. We've done a lot of improvement to cross-team coordination, refining workflows, decision-making processes, and strengthening our internal infrastructure so we can support our staff, our members, folks that work with us, our partners, etc. Um, Obviously, we're a small but mighty team. We do a lot. But I think it's not just about, breadth, it's also about depth and getting stronger. So those are my reflections from this past year. Pass it to James.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I definitely um really witnessed a lot of growth and just leadership development on the team. As Sierra noted, this last year being sort of our first official year as an organization, and just witnessing our team step up to the plate every time when it came to new policies, new efforts, new things that we had to like consider, and just really appreciating that grace and that sort of ability to grow and step into this new phase of our organization, uh, and also doing that while sort of planning our assembly about possibility. It was just a real heroic sort of ask, and I really appreciated witnessing our team sort of retain that patience and consideration. Another thing that I think just for myself is really just trying to commit to like uh, keeping up with the big and small communications, especially when it comes to the partners that we do this work with. I think I definitely at times just uh, yeah, I don't always have the energy or don't carve out time to keep certain conversations going. And seeing how sometimes that impacted our ability to keep people engaged, people that matter on a lot of different fronts. And so I think something I'm really committing to is keeping momentum going across the board, especially as it relates to things that I touch and influence, to ensure that people know that we care and we want to work with them. Uh, and yeah, I think I will. Yeah, and then just a sort of learning. I think that I really want to just something I worked had a hard time with. I think last year was just managing my time at different periods of the year, kind of loading myself with a lot of things, and not delegating until things were really late. And so just really just being really thoughtful about time, so the team fully could be able to like move because sometimes that created bottlenecks. And so just really being thoughtful, I think that was something that was key for me. I'll pass it to you, Nia.
Thank you for the 20 seconds you left me, James. Speaking of time. Um, so uh I think so James and Sierra talked about this. Oh, so one thing that I'll mention is so Sierra talked about the middle of last year being our first full year of independence. That also came with us starting our first audit that we are smack dab in the middle of. Exciting times. So we have all learned so much about paperwork of every kind imaginable for every task and every person and every thought in the world. We have also filed for an extension for our taxes, so we're going to pay taxes. Let's see. We've had a few board meetings as an independent entity. We have a rock star board that is comprised of Ujima stakeholders, comprised of Ujima delegates, business alliance members, funding partners, community standards committee members, investment committee members. So rock stars who know Ujima intimately and want to be supportive. And the thing that I'm thinking about the most, I guess, is in terms of senior leadership team, is as Sierra and James have said, really kind of stepping up, doing the hard, boring, tedious things. So I think we all shared that kind of labor. It reminds me of watching a bit about not the costume designer, but someone from Sinners, who was doing a talk about she's some type of videographer or something like that. She did the camera work, and she's kind of talking about all the different decisions that have to be made, and then she ends it with the shit is hard. So just appreciating that the senior leadership team did not back away from shit being hard. In terms of learnings, um, time management, I would say I would agree with in terms of James. So we started the year this year actually talking about how a couple of us are gonna on the senior leadership team we're gonna cut some things back. So that'll be an interesting uh, conversation. And I'm also looking forward to at the end of the year last year we had a directors breakfast. So we have actually three people on our team who are directors, and so we had a breakfast with them, and so looking forward to more kind of co-creation with our directors. And I am so glad whoever is in charge of the timeout music did not let that play. Thank you very much. And I will stop now. Thank you.
Thank y'all so much. We made it through everybody. Um, I know publications team is going to start their member team meeting in 3 minutes. Oh yes, applaud. My fault. Yeah, let's applaud the team. Okay. And the publications team is going to start soon. So I will make a breakout room for folks who need to hop into that, but I do want to make sure we have some time for questions. So does anybody have any questions they'd like to ask? And if you don't have a question, I welcome insights in place of questions for them for now.
I have a question. And my question is for the fund team, the fund management team. One of the most exciting projects that we didn't get to, well, I guess Genoa, you talked about it, but I wonder if there's anything else that you all want to say about homeschool and the Ujima Collective Real Estate Fund.
You were one of the coordinators, Sierra, so I feel like you should talk about it. It was great.
It was amazing.
Yeah. Uh
Um,
yeah, go ahead.
it was just one of my highs, so I just thought, someone should shout it out a little bit more in depth. So at the bottom of 2024, we put out a call and we were like, who wants to learn about real estate development to help us build our next fund and to help us build our next fund? And much to our surprise, almost 150 people said me. And so for 7 months last year, We were engaged in study and design with members of Homeschool. Um, it is I think homeschool.ujimaboston.com is the URL if you want to go check out the website. And yeah, we had speakers come and give talks about the various principles of real estate development, fund design, and how people across the US are doing this work differently. We got to talk to Ibuprec, we got to talk to Co-Everything, we got to talk to a lot of different, cooperative cooperators across the US. And it was beautiful. There might be
It
more news
inspired.
soon.
Yeah, well, and Siona was a participant who's here. Genoa showed up a couple of times. Thank you, Sierra, for saying it out loud. I had it on my reflection as one of my highlights, and so did Joshua, who was also another coordinator. But it inspired one of the participants, Andrea Yarborough, to actually start her own homeschool in Chicago. And yeah, so thank you for shouting it out loud. It was definitely one of my favorites of the year last year. I had a ball. Thank you.
I don't have a question, but I just want to say it's amazing to listen to all that you all are doing and doing so well. And I just say bravo to all of you.